He pressed the right buttons, but Shiv Vishwanathan, can this tall talk now translate into reality?
Look, I'm quite open to him. I might have been a critic of him. I'm still a critic of him on some political issues. But let's give the man his genius. He didn't make a political speech. I think what he talked about is the virtues of a certain kind of social attitude. He talked about civic virtues. And I think he's quite open to translating them. You can complain about Panchayati Raj, but I think if he provides what you emphasize, the energy, a lot of it will be done. And if it's done, let's welcome it.
I do think that, the way to really look at it is that if a Prime Minister is making a statement of intent, then it has to be accepted or that it is intended for translation.
No, but these things have been spoken of in the past.
I don't think so.
Using MP lads' money well, having toilets in every home and every school. These are not things we are hearing for the first time. It's a very valid question and a very valid concern.
They have not been said. We are comparing a speech, the first speech of a Prime Minister, and don't get misled by that. There was never a first speech by Rajiv Gandhi which mentioned these. So let's not get into that. The point was simply this. This man is actually redefining the idea of what statesman-like behavior is. And that is causing a lot of discomfort. And he knows it too, and he said that. You must be wondering why a Prime Minister from this point, at this place, is talking about things like toilets. So I think he's aware of that, and he's aware of the responsibilities, but he's also giving direction. He's also putting this out, he's getting this out of the basket and saying, this is going to be important
But even Mr. Iyer, you would concede that when he says that he's thanking previous generations of leaders in the country, he is sounding statesman-like. Here's a man who's not been chosen by somebody else to be Prime Minister because she doesn't want to be or can't be Prime Minister. Here's a man who's earned the goodwill of the people and has earned his right to speak to them from the right forum.
Yeah, but you're referring only to Dr. Manmohan Singh, and he never criticized Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I don't remember Indira Gandhi using this platform for a party political speech. I just don't recall Lal Bahadur Shastri doing it either. I don't recall P.V. Narasimha Rao attacking V.P. Singh. So everyone knows that on such an occasion, you have to appear as a statesman and not a party politician. And I concede that Mr. Modi, for once, didn't talk about Shah-in-Shahs and Shahzadas and things like that. It's all right to that extent.
Not statesman enough for you?
But not at all, because I did not come across one single idea that doesn't have an immediate precedent. No. It's not new wine in old bottles. It's old wine in old bottles, but relabeled. Every single idea.
Old wine, old bottle, relabeled.
I refer just after independence, millions of freedom fighters were left without any job because it was state-centering. For the first time, the Prime Minister of the country is connecting the development work not with the corporate houses only, but the people. It is not the private, it is the people. Number two, just see, that village is the center. What was the gap between Gandhi and Nehru that time, the developmental plank? He's filling that gap. He's bringing again the village at the center at the time when globalization and liberalization, the main paradigm of the economic development. Third thing, let me complete. Third thing, the Planning Commission, which has over the years become the white elephant. He has declared that this commission is going to be wind up. And now the new institution will come up with in the new perspective, new developmental perspective. So I find that in his speech there is a optimism for the country, and it is inspiring a speech. What is the best?
But I want to focus with Dr. Lahiri and Rajiv Kumar. With Rajiv Kumar first on whether he's reaching out to people, wanting them to play their part in nation building. Now, do you think he's doing enough to stir them into action, or are they just waking up on a holiday, listening to this great speech and saying, oh, that was a good show, well done, Modi?
Rahul,
or will they act on his call?
The question that you had asked earlier was the right one. Can this rhetoric be converted into action and time-bound action? And there, my optimism arises from the fact that he quite candidly admitted that he, as an outsider, he has seen a broken governance system in Delhi. He's seen tough wars. He's seen internal inconsistency and conflicts. And he has seen very weak governance. And he has committed in the first, very opening almost part of his speech to saying that I will set this governance right. And I will actually deliver to you a bureaucracy, a system which will deliver to you in a time-bound manner. In the similar way, what he's done is most of his announcements here have a date to it. You know, that if he's talking about the Adarsh Gram Yojana, he's saying 11th October, JP's movement, I'll come back with a blueprint to you. He's talking about cleanliness in the Indian cities. He's saying 2019, I will, on the Gandhi's anniversary, I will try and give you a clean India. So here is a person who's actually trying to relate the rhetoric to an action plan, a plan of action, and also admitting that whether it is through e-governance or it is through better accountability, that he is very conscious of the fact that without delivery, all this is complete,
Dr. Lai, he's pressing the right buttons, but is that enough to translate this talk into reality?
Rahul, I just want to make 2 points. One, I think it's a bit premature to pass a judgment on the quality of the speech, because if you remember Lincoln's Gettysburg address, it was over before people realized, and it sort of became a legend only over time. Tryst with Destiny, Panditji's speech, it became more and more iconic over time. And I can talk of, I won't take names, the prime ministers who have gone and come and gone. The day they delivered the speeches, we said, what a great speech. But we have forgotten what they said on that particular day. So this speech, we'll only know with time whether this was a great speech or not. That brings me to the second point which you are asking. We are seeing a chief minister of a state becoming prime minister after a long, long time. And Mr. Modi, even his worst enemies will acknowledge that he has got grit and fierce determination. He's an implementation man. So I think like a good achar, not whiskey, I won't mention whiskey. This, we will know the speech.
Talking about wine here.
Achha, this speech, the quality of the speech will look better and better as he implements it. And I think like Shiv Vishwanathan, we should give him time. Achhe Din is not going to come overnight. I think we are being unrealistic. Achhe Din, if he is able to usher in Achhe Din by a long haul of development work and implementation, this speech will look at great.
General Bakshi, quickly.
In terms of rhetorical flourish, though this speech may, range between silver and bronze in the light of the, the three that we shortlisted, but in terms of deliverables, I think the strong point of this speech is the deliverables, is the breaking out of the long-term objectives into immediate realizable objectives, as he very rightly pointed out. In everything there is a timeline set, there is a date set, 5 years, 1 village each in every parliamentary constituency as a model.
But those deadlines have been set in the past as well. They've lapsed. In several government programs, deadlines have been set time and again.
The USP of the man.
Whether from the speech from a Red Fort, any prime minister, they've always announced programs and speeches, and maybe some broad counters of it. I don't recall any dates being set.
I will add Rahul, one thing. I will add one thing. For the first time, Prime Minister, just Parliament had passed a year ago, I think 6 months ago, the corporate social responsibility 2%. He just directed the corporate social responsibility to make expenditure in the field of toilets in the schools and the villages. This is a great thing. He just taking
the Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan is exactly the same.
That is a flop Abhiyan.
It's been there for a year. It has targets, it has a deadline, and we just see, this is what I mean by old wine in old bottles being relabeled. Every single idea that he has given has its origin in programs that already exist.
Let me counter all congressmen are not Manish Sankaraya. Just one minute. The Congress system is a corrupt system. Basic difference is that Prime Minister is reflecting the imagination, optimism and the commitment which the people are receiving.
There are two reasons why this would not be the case. One, Ashok mentioned. One is that this person has a track record for delivery. In fact, he got here only because on the basis of that, remember that. So that is one. The other is all speeches become famous and they become historical documents only when they match the milestones. Never because they actually sounded good and weren't delivered on. So please, let's focus on that part of it. For this to be historical is something that we will test out, but the intent is right. The man's record is showing up, and that's why we trust him.
Okay, I now want to move forward. Give me a moment. We need to roll the show as well. I want to move forward to the issue of communal violence. Several people who've been critics of the Modi government have been saying that communal tensions have gone up in the past few months, and they were looking out to Modi to rein in the fringe. There was a stern message. He asked for a 10-year moratorium against communal violence, giving amity and peace a chance. What do you make of this 10-year moratorium, and do you think he's done enough, Shiv Vishwanathan, to rein in the fringe with his comments against communal violence?
I think that was the one false note in the speech. If you look at the rest, he bared himself. He said, these are the social indicators by which I'm going to be judged. That was brilliant. But the 10-year moratorium is a bit of sentiment.
What was the Hindi word that he used for moratorium? Are we translating it right?
Almost literally enacting out a metaphor. Okay? But I think the thing here is, there are silences here. Because the questions around Modi are questions about majoritarianism and the new kinds of violence erupting. I think here, he did not pay attention to it. This was the one little touch of sentiment.
Sanjay, why ask for a 10-year moratorium? Why not say, let's banish the evil of communal violence?
Yeah, no,
let's find a way of living together in peace forever.
Yeah. No, I think manner of speaking, number one. Number two, that I think this was more in the tone of beseeching. And because it was not a prepared speech where you read, I think that can be allowed because the intent was there. The intent was, if nothing else, at least let's just keep quiet about this for the next 10 years, focus on the job, and if it doesn't work, we'll discuss this again. So I think it was in that manner, number one. Number two, I think the issue about violence, let me finish quickly, is also, it's centered around which states? So let's put it from that point of view. I think this man is also going to be very concerned that his development model, the entire ideas, the foundation on which he's talking about or he's trying to build is going to shiver if there's going to be communal violence. So the one person who has absolutely no interest in communal violence right now is Prime Minister Modi and his government.
No, but why ask?
I completely disagree with Viswanathan, because he has revived, Narendra Modi has revived what debate took place in the Constituent Assembly. I am just quoting one small sentence of Tajamul Hussain, who was a Muslim League member. He said there is no majority and minority in this country. We all are Indians. Just he is ending the categories. You are addressing the minorities are safe, majority should not do that. Like that, you are giving the world message that we have permanent divide. Here, there is a communal violence.
No, but why ask for a 10-year moratorium? Why not say, let's end communal violence?
That's precisely what I'm coming to. The rationale, as I understand behind this is, look, if you get development going, communal violence is a product of economic deprivation. You get economic growth going, and you will find this thing starts dying off by itself. I think that is the underlying
Manishankar Iyer disagrees with
10-year moratorium kind of a thing.
Look, if there was an earnestness to this, what is the biggest disadvantage in terms of communalism that attaches to Mr. Modi? It's what happened in Gujarat. He has not apologized. This was a golden opportunity to do so if his program was sincere. He has not given up Hindutva, which is at the basis of all majoritarianism.
But where was any visible Hindutva in his speech? That's unfair.
I said that even if there was no Hindutva in his speech, he is an advocate of Hindutva. Everybody knows
what's wrong advocating
Hindutva? And in these circumstances, for it to carry conviction to an unconvinced person like myself, I'm not talking about the converted. They are on his side anyway. I'm talking about the unconverted. I didn't find, here we have a record where in the course of the last 2 months that he has been in office, whether he is responsible for it, as many of us think, or whether it is the opposition party, that is the ruling party in Uttar Pradesh that is responsible, to have hundreds of incidents which have a communal color, to have a series of incidents over the last 10 weeks which have attracted...
No, but he's pressing the right button over there. He's telling people that he's not okay with violence. How much can you blame the Prime Minister for what's happening in Uttar Pradesh? That's Akhilesh's problem.
I would expect... Sorry, if you wish to, you can...
Just one question for you.
Please.
Can Congress demand the dismissal of Uttar Pradesh government where there is a maximum communal right, 35% communal rights from the Uttar Pradesh government? If he dismisses or he talks about Uttar Pradesh, then there will be a violation of the federalism. Then you will suggest that he is a dictator.
I never suggested that he should dismiss.
No. What is the solution?
Let him speak. You asked a question.
Say what I want to say, rather than guess at what I'm going to say. I would have expected stern condemnation of every party involved in those communal riots from the Prime Minister, including his own party, which is implicated in almost every one of these incidents. I would have expected him to be much more on the fore with regard to various scattered incidents of communalism that we've seen in these last 10 weeks. For somebody to get up and say, I'm now going to have a moratorium, if he can't implement it, why is he announcing the moratorium?
Sanjay Kaul, do you think he didn't do enough, as Mani argues?
No, I've already answered that. in advance of this, but I'd just like to say we're discussing what he said, not what he did not say, number one. I think I got that right. The other thing is I'm repeating this. This is not about this. This is about a person setting a development agenda and concerned about the fact that there are forces, and I'm specifically mentioning those states, and please don't get this wrong, maximum number of incidents of communal violence happened during the UPA's tenure.
We're judging where this speech ranks in history. In the last part, the quick point.
I don't want him to be giving up Hindu, etc., because Gandhi didn't also give up his Hinduism and things like that. But what I do think was needed perhaps at this time, given the scale of his victory and so on, is a sense of comfort to the Muslims of this country. I mean, I'm being very bold out here to say that, look, you are going to be as much looked after as anybody else, and it's my responsibility. And because I'm from Lucknow, the reference, for example, to a Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb in this country, you know, to the plurality and the diversity of this country, etc. So you didn't have to be direct about it here. But what you could have been done to have been socially and culturally inclusive. And that is what have been good enough, because that is what
I need to move on. In the last part of this program, I want all our guests to peek into their crystal ball and tell us, we can just have those images up on the screen right now, different prime ministers addressing the people of India from the ramparts of the Red Fort. Pandit Nehru got that opportunity 17 times. Indira Gandhi spoke 16 times. Manmohan Singh spoke 10 times. We saw very subtly in that speech, Modi allude to a 10-year stint in office, where he's asking for a 10-year moratorium. Obviously, that's because he thinks he'll still be around as Prime Minister speaking from the Red Fort 10 years later. Who do I put this question to first? Shiv Vishwanathan, to you. If you were to gaze at this moment, and if that icon in the middle were to be a crystal ball, what would you say? On the basis of what we've seen so far, would Modi be around 10 years from now speaking still from the Red Fort?
Yes.
Yes?
Blatantly yes. Not that I have to agree with him, but I think to a certain extent, let's face it, the Congress is an absent-minded party full of some loyalists. I think what we have to realize in a deep and fundamental way is this man is opening up the imagination, talking to a new generation, talking about youth, trying to vitalize them, giving them a new kind of energy and the possibilities of entrepreneurship. They're going to respond. Old has-beens like me, worried about ideology, might grumble a bit. But I think, let's face it, in talking to the new nation, he's had an impact. And if he doesn't mess it up, he is here for 10 years.
Mr. Iyer, that will be
find Rahul Gandhi watching him from the sideline.
He wasn't there. Wonder where he was this morning. Okay. He didn't even show up to listen.
Is the only presence the Congress can
to Narendra Modi. When a critic like Shiv Vishwanathan says that he's reimagining India, that would be disconcerting. Rahul wasn't even there at the Red Fort.
It's disconcerting that he's reimagining an India which had already discovered a national identity based on the recognition of the diversity of this nation from which arises a unity. But as I'm probably not going to get another opportunity to speak on this program, I wish to join hands with a gentleman called, or is it a lady called Ellen Barry of the New York Times, whose assessment of the last 70 days or so of the Modi government is as follows. But this early wave of disenchantment which he talks of is a reminder that the man India elected earlier this year is in some ways a cipher. That is the sentiment I entirely...
Well, the Economist also said I think that they think that Rahul Gandhi is actually better than Modi to be Prime Minister. Just one moment. I want to go to the slightly less partisan guests. First, on the question of whether Modi will be around 10 years later as well, as he thinks or as he alludes in his speech. Dr. Lahiri, to you.
Rahul, how can one disagree with Shiv Vishwanathan on such questions? I think we are seeing a mass leader after a long, long time. And the similarities between Mrs. Thatcher and Mr. Modi are quite striking.
In what way? His economic policy is not half as reformist or bold as Thatcher's.
Margaret Thatcher came in by unseating Edward Heath. We know what happened in BJP. And then she came to power in the winter of discontent. Last 2 years have been quite bad for the Indian economy. Mrs. Thatcher had a tough time for the first 2 years, until 1982 when the Falklands War came. So it was a rough start. And then she continued for 2.5 terms. I think BJP and RSS have put a limit on 75 years. Mr. Modi is 63.
So you're predicting 2.5 terms.
12 years till becomes 75. So I'll be surprised if he does not continue to...
2.5 terms. Wonder what will happen for him to leave halfway into his third term.
In the morning I had very emphatically said that I see him there for 10 years at least. But by this time in the afternoon, you know, it's not entirely up to him also, right? Because the fact is that it will depend upon his own party people. It will depend upon the Sangh Parivar as to how they perform, whether there are internal dissensions, etc., etc. But also equally well, it will depend upon the Congress. Because if the Congress continues to be led by what the Economist, you know, termed very sort of, you know, quite ungraciously, if you like, as a dud, you know, then of course they will not have their act together. But if on the other hand, a Congress, a rejuvenated Congress under a collective young leadership, of there are several out there who can do it, rises, you know, if you like, from the ashes and challenges him, this environment, this internet age, you know, the young people of India are far too, you know, impatient and far too moving quickly for us to cast anything out there.
Rakesh, when in 1984, Rajiv Gandhi won with the mandate that he did, at that point in time, people thought he could do no wrong. In 5 years, things changed and changed very dramatically. So while today 10 years may seem not so distant and very achievable, things can still go dramatically wrong.
You are right. In democracy, we cannot predict about anybody, and we cannot give the certificate that he would be 10 years or 15 years. But at present, what I find, the emergence of the Sangha Parivar and the Bharatiya Janata Party, it is the initial stage of emergence. It is not the last and final stage. So I find that Narendra Modi will continue as a leader and as a mass leader. Second thing, what I find, he unlocked the closed mind of India by addressing the social realities. And I find a nice thing in his at the end of the speech, Bharat Mata ki Jai and Bande Mataram. The slogan which Congress made a communal slogan. You just say Bharat Mata ki Jai and there are riots and Congress people say they are RSS wala and Saffron wala. Bande Mataram, they were apprehensive. So I think Narendra Modi is reflecting the imagination of the people. Secondly, you know, the cultural India.
Okay, Sanjay Kaul.
I think without a doubt.
Do you think the pitch is laid perfectly, or do you think things can still go wrong?
No, I think...
Hidden monsters can crop up. Landmines can blast in his face.
No, I think, why would you want to think like that? The fact of the matter is anybody who can lead this country into roughly the direction that he indicated is going to have the support of the people. You have seen the mandate that he received. It was not a mandate based only on hope. It was partly based on basically the faith that people have on him. So I think this will continue very easily. But I do want you to think about the fact that he is also reimagining the rules of the game. And like somebody said, that he is talking to a new audience. And the reason why I do not expect the Congress to resurrect very easily is that fundamentally they have a structural DNA problem. And until they fix that, that's not going to happen. So in the absence of that, and in the absence of that, I do believe that Mr. Modi has a free run, and with the support that he enjoys at this point in time, and with the ideas that he has, I think this is going
General
to be...
Bakshi, quick final comments.
We are looking only at half the equation. The individuals. There are social phenomena behind this. Whenever countries urbanize and industrialize, right-wing nationalism comes onto the fore. It happened in Europe between the wars.
Okay.
It is happening in Asia today. You see nationalism rising in China, in Vietnam, in Japan. This is the right-wing nationalism which a lot of the left liberal lot just totally missed. You know, we had a perception till now that it's the left liberal lobby who
do you think
represents
he'll be
the voice
here
of the
10 years
nation.
later or not?
He is going to be very much there. And even when he leaves, there'll be somebody of this genre who will be taking over from him. You please take it from me.
None of us have a perfect crystal ball.
Saffron system
the
going
social
to continue
engineering
in this
is
country
going.
for next coming decades.
We don't know that. Things can change and things change very dramatically.
And by the way,
course,
I think the
we'll all be looking
would have
very closely at seeing what happens
You
next.
missed something, Rahul.
Yes, Mr. Iyer.
The 12 years that he mentioned, there was a 1,000-year Reich that was proclaimed in the interwar years that he is invoking, and it lasted exactly 12 years. So if it does last 12 years, disaster faces this country. If we can cut it down to half of these 10 years, as I think we will, I am not at all persuaded that a party that succeeds in getting no more than 1/3 of the vote and gets only 10 seats more then the minimum required is one that has changed the face of India and forever they'll be there.
Frankly,
I think all that
I'm out of time, but I'll give you an opportunity to end.
No, when he says something about disasters, you'd have to tend to agree with him because he's been there, he's been part of that for the last 15 years, 10 years. So I think we'll take
You've
that
got
seriously.
one person making a stirring speech from the ramparts of the Red Fort, leading the BJP, and you've got Rahul Gandhi leading the Congress, who wasn't even present at the Red Fort today, didn't speak after demanding that there be a debate on communal violence and didn't show up at Red Fort this morning. I don't want Mr. Iyer to comment on that because that will put him into a spot. But that's the reality today. It's the people of India who have to judge and decide.
I wouldn't have minded being put on the spot, but I'll let you.
No, tell us. Do you think? No, do you think Rahul can take?
Because our party is not one person.
Okay, that's another debate. We'll call you all back on this round table for joining us on the Independence Day round table. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for really helping shape and decode Prime Minister Modi's speech. Really enjoyed having you all with us. Thank you. Thank you all for watching tonight. Happy Independence Day. Good night. God bless.